Like it's the most ridiculous it's the most ridiculous thing as far as the black misleadership class is concerned. Like you have to, all right, cool. Well, this person does know this. This is accurate, but you also get these folks that know they know better and will do otherwise. If I know what I know and I act opposite to it, I'm doing a disservice to my people. I refuse to do it, irrespective of what station I'm at in life.
But that also goes into the question, what matters more? Does the money or the mission matter more? And I've had this conversation with my comrades, Savvy Savs, all the time. Mm-hmm. What matters more? Does the money matter more or does the mission matter more? And the funny part is, any one of us at RBN, any one of us could suddenly go, I'm a conservative, look at me, and then rake in all the MAGA dollars, mm-hmm. right? And then next thing you know, and we can say, well, we're just doing this because we want to get big enough so that we can spread the message more. But the thing is that we're losing our integrity just to be able to get some money. And the problem is that that's what we see with the consultant class. That's what we see. And I include people like Roland Martin in that class too. Because the thing is like he was one of the people that basically used his platform in order to get more money. And the thing is, he's talking about, oh, well, I'm trying to get advertising dollars for a black network. And it's like, okay, you're trying to get advertising dollars. Why didn't you get the advertising dollars from Donald Trump? Why didn't you get advertising dollars from third parties? Why didn't you have them on? Did you expect Trump to win? Yes. And if you weren't, were you surprised?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised for a number of reasons. One of the biggest reasons being she didn't run a great campaign. You roll a policy out at the very last moment, which I believe you and I had a conversation about this previously. Look at how long she took to roll out an actual policy. The whole time was, I'm not Donald Trump, but here's this party. Here's something you could jam out to. All right. You keep talking about middle-class upbringing.
Yep.
Guess who's looking at you say this and not hearing them be brought up?
Yep.
Poor working class people. At what point did you decide to get to these folks?
Yeah, because I would be honest with you, they didn't knock on my door and I live in the hood. They didn't come here. So yeah, I didn't get a chance to hear it from any of them. But that's great because one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to get into this post-mortem that was talked about between Joy Reid and really Torre. I wanted to get into that, and I shared that video clip with you last night. So I wanted to get into that. Let me make sure I get to my right spot here. And then, because Torre really talks about the consulting class and I want to get into that. Okay, so let me share my screen really quick. And please feel free to ask me to pause if you want to make a point, because I won't be able to see you, but do not be shy about interjecting. So we'll get into it.
Rural surge. There were older voters who came out as well.
Torre, you've done some reporting on kind of the internal dynamics of the Harris campaign, and you want to talk about something that I really want to get into, and that is the consultants. Talk about the consultant factor in this election.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why Kamala lost. One of them that when I spoke to elite Democratic people and they kept bringing up the name Jen O'Malley Dillon. Jen was the campaign chair for Kamala Harris, and she had been hired to do that for Biden. So this is a Biden person, a Biden loyalist who in 2023 was leaking to media that Kamala should be replaced on the ticket, right? This is the reporting that I have on my Substack. So this is the person you have to go to battle with, who a year earlier was whispering to reporters saying, maybe you should be replaced. And part of the thing with Jen too, when you talk about the consulting class, that she has an ad buying company. So when she's advising the candidate saying you should buy ads, that is personally enriching to her. Right now, that doesn't mean that she's doing anything nefarious, right? She seems to have done her job as best as she could. But when a hammer sees everything as a nail, and when you personally are enriched by ad buys, then you're going to recommend that to the candidate, as opposed to Donald Trump got a lot out of being on podcasts, right?
So let's stop there really quick for a second. Let me ask you this. Does that sound like almost like a sabotage to you in a way? Because it sounds almost like, not necessarily sabotage, but it was like taking advantage of the situation without trying to push for a more favorable outcome. Because it really is all about the money. It really wasn't about actually getting anybody who they found worthy to be elected.
It's sabotage, but it's also predictable, because it's not like Kamala wasn't at odds with Joe Biden when she was running a campaign without having been picked to be his VP. So them same people that wasn't rocking with you before are there now. You kind of already, you got to be, a complete fool to not know what you walking into at that particular point. And then to say I wouldn't do anything, or to repeatedly state how she wouldn't do anything differently than what he's done. It's one thing to be wrong. It's another thing to grossly miscalculate how tight-knit white supremacy is, irrespective of whether it is the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. They get to be white at the end of the day. You, for all intents and purposes, your black ass is going to be the sacrificial lamb in all of this, and then they get to look and be like, well, we tried. The hell y'all did? Roll out the policy the last minute. She wasn't really talking about anything that could connect to the people on the ground. And I mean, and Joy Reid, I have my own personal gripe. I believe that Joy Reid, I believe that Touré, I believe that a lot of these journalists are extremely dangerous in the utilization of their platform, because you're sitting up there deliberately lying about how these things came to be or how these things should work. If we can deduce that the black woman is the most disrespected woman, as per Malcolm X, why would you, as a black woman, think that these white folks had your best interests at heart, particularly ones that you were already kind of beefing with and griping with? You'd be like, all right, cool, we'll let that pass. They ain't forget about that. They not letting it slide, and they're gonna be like, all right, cool. We tried. Oh, we didn't really want her. She wasn't qualified. She wasn't this. She wasn't that. And now, off topic real quick, it's just a matter of her talking about how she is, or at least rumored reports, that she's going to do this again in 2028. How many times you going to keep getting your ass beat by the same system?
I'm sorry, but Kamala's acting like a Myron Gaines. I mean, because it's always kissing up to, white supremacy, and then white supremacy kicks you away, and then you come back, with your tongue hanging out, like, are you still going to pet me again? Like, nah, it's like, leave them alone. And, that's one of the issues that I also have, is, people like Kamala Harris talking about running again. Number one, black people already don't like her. Let's just be real. Okay. Back in 2020, when she was running under the Democratic primary, she got maybe 1% of the black vote. She lost the black vote to two white men. And the thing is that why did she lose? It's because we see through her. We know the phrase, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And guess what? She was definitely not kinfolk. We saw more solidarity from Bernie Sanders than we did with her. We saw more from Joe Biden. She couldn't beat Joe Biden and getting the black vote in the 2020 Democratic primary. That tells you something deep about her. The fact that Jim Crow Joe could beat her, That says a lot to me.
It's deep, but it's also people are looking at that prosecutorial record. People are looking at her not really speaking up when things do happen to black folks. When's the last time you heard her say anything? And I could be wrong. Please correct me if I am, because I'm not above reproach in that regard. But Sonia Massey, the lady that was shot in her face, at what point, and this is this year, at what point did Kamala say anything in regard to her? All we've gotten is she's not the black president. And then you also have to take into account black folks are smarter than she would like to believe that we are. Here's why. Look at the platforms you're going to. So in my mind, and I'm hoping that my comrades across the diaspora feel the same, you going to the Breakfast Club, you going to all the smoke podcasts, you doing all of these trivial things. And we know, or at least I know anyway, that the person that's interviewing you don't know the first thing about politics, what to ask, or nothing. The most politically savvy person that they had on any of these platforms, and she's dangerous too, Angela Rye. She's an attorney by trade, been around the game for a long time, sat up there and was completely full of shit. Because if you're going to sit there and talk about how, there's no respect for women, somebody please tell me the percentage of women that are out there on the Gaza Strip or that were out there. Or somebody tell me the percentage of black folks that live in Jackson, Mississippi and Flint, Michigan, in ghettos across the country that are often forgotten about. So it's like, you can say this, but y'all don't give a damn about these people either. And it's like the jig is up. Y'all done, a little bit too much dip on your chip as far as we not doing this, that, and the other. Black folks are tired of just these empty promises. Maybe it's that, because you could say, all right, well, people stayed home or they voted for third party. I voted for third party as well, and I'm okay with that. And the reason why I'm okay with that is because I got a hard pass on genocide is a big ass red flag for me when I know that not only are the people being genocided in Palestine, but my people are being genocided on a continent, and there's people being genocided right here. When you mess up somebody's water supply and don't give them clean water to bathe in, to drink in, to consume, when you live in dilapidated housing, when you don't have adequate employment, the truth of the matter is that too is a form of genocide. It's just happening at a slower clip. You can't continue to keep telling these middle class. All right, poor folks and working class folks such as ourselves, we're looking like, well, at what point do you actually get to change our material conditions, our material realities?
Yeah.
Here's the reality of it. All y'all doing is putting more police in these neighborhoods with cop cities the same way that IDF is running around in Palestine. So the parallel itself is there. And I'm going to stop in a moment because I know I'm rambling at this particular point.
You're good.
But the parallel that's there, we have to look at it like maybe there'd be less crime if there was less poverty, which there's a direct correlation between the two, if I'm not mistaken. But crime exists because people are unhoused, people are, unemployed or underemployed, because they're going to always tell you about the unemployment rate without telling you about the people that are employed, but still can't pay for rent and groceries at the same time. That still don't have the basic necessities that they need. You keep talking about these middle class folks. Okay, cool. These folks get to go on vacation. These folks get to pay their rent, their mortgage, their car note, so on and so forth. What about them black folks that can't afford to get bus fare, train fare in order to get from point A to point B?
That was me.
You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I'm from New York. I lived in that project majority of my life up until I moved a few years ago. And I can tell you the NYCHA system, New York City Housing Authority system, can charge you up to 30% of your rent. Anybody can go Google that right now. So say you make 50 grand, you're still paying X amount of money to live in conditions to where maintenance ain't gonna fix that building. They're not gonna get rid of them rats. They're not gonna get rid of the criminal element, because on every corner, as it's historically been, you got BS food that's gonna kill you. You got liquor stores. And none of this stuff is being talked about. Like, at what point do you actually get to, all right, well, this is the plan that I have. This is the agenda that we have to fix the conditions that y'all have been stuck with since the day before forever.
Yeah. You know, it's an interesting thing because, of course, I did vote third party. And to all the politicians that keep talking about the middle class, you can talk about the middle class all you want. But I think of it as, if you're not going to look at this like a triage situation, what does triage do? Triage, what they do in the emergency room is that they will look at everybody they have in that emergency room, and the most severe cases get the care first. If that's the case, to be honest with you, the middle class actually needs to go behind some of us. But the problem is that they want to cater to the middle class because that's where some of the money's at. And it's not even really the money per se. It's just that's supposed to be the largest block of people. And, you know, you spoke to so many different things. Like, for instance, if Kamala really cared about women, then she would care about the rate of miscarriages going up 300% in Gaza. 300%.
Mm-hmm. She would care about that. She would care about these illegal hysterectomies that have been given at detainment camps.
Oh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
She would care about the rate at which Black women are subjected to and have miscarriages at higher rates, or are subject to their babies being killed in the stage of infancy. So the infant mortality rate is definitely higher. But no, you know, she gets to talk about the stuff that is superficial, that's on the surface, and give out what she's good for, which is word salad, and not much of anything else. Because what I was taught to look at, and what I was taught to learn is, all right, well, cool, you said this. What else is behind this? Sub questions of sorts. What's the follow up to this? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's go back to the video. I want to dissect this just a little bit more. All great points. Thank you very much for that.
And we don't feel like Kamala took advantage of that as much.
And let me talk about the consultant class really quick, because it is a big issue that there are 3 big media analytics firms that got about $280 million in ad production and placement money through the Harris campaign. A lot of that $1 billion went toward ad buys.
Let's not forget also the $350,000 that went to Roland Martin, and a couple $1 million that went to Oprah.
Hey, bro, because if I talk, and Roland Martin is the most sensitive cat running around the internet with the biggest mouth. I'm going to say this right now. Here's the reality of it, and it's not just Roland Martin. What I'm going to say is the people that he has in his corner, i.e. Dr. Greg Carr, respects to him because Greg Carr is brilliant. I've heard this elder speak. I know what he's capable of, but this is also why he's dangerous. You know for a fact you are a Africana Studies professor. You have a law degree, but you sitting here co-signing Roland Martin's nonsense in regard to, you know, all the shit that he's spewing while accepting money from corporate sponsors. If you're going to accept money from corporate sponsors, guess what you got to do? You got to play the game. Your opinion ain't really your own. And I don't understand how you going to sleep at night when you just was step and fetch it for corporate sponsors. Now, I seen the video with a brother that pulled up on Roland Martin because Roland was talking spicy. Roland ain't had nothing to say at that point. When I see the engagement online, it's always like you coming at people through condescension because you're after your own personal gain as opposed to what's good for the collective, for the masses. Y'all don't give a damn about Black folks either. They have to stop pretending as if they do.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, look, if you got all that smoke online, you better be prepared to give that smoke in real life. You know what I'm saying? You know, because
one thing's for sure, two things for certain. At some point, somebody's gonna pull up on you, and when that person pull up on you and ask you what you was talking about, then at that point,
he said, "What's up?" And you know, Roland Martin was like, he put a woman in front of him.
Like it's the most ridiculous, and you know, it's the most ridiculous thing as far as the black misleadership class is concerned. Like, you have to, all right, cool. Well, this person does know this. This is accurate, but you know, you also get these folks that know they know better and will do otherwise. If I know what I know and I act opposite to it, I'm doing a disservice to my people. I refuse to do it, irrespective of what station I'm at in life.
But that also goes into the question, what matters more? Does the money or the mission matter more? And I've had this conversation with my comrades, Savvy Sabs, all the time. What matters more? Does the money matter more, or does the mission matter more? And the funny part is, any one of us at RBN, any one of us could suddenly go, I'm a conservative, look at me, and then rake in all the MAGA dollars, right? And then next thing you know, and we can say, well, we're just doing this because we want to get big enough so that we can spread the message more. But the thing is that we're losing our integrity just to be able to get some money. And the problem is that that's what we see with the consultant class. That's what we see. And I include people like Roland Martin in that class too. Because the thing is like, he was one of the people that basically used his platform in order to get more money. And the thing is, he's talking about, oh, well, I'm trying to get advertising dollars for a black network. And it's like, okay, you're trying to get advertising dollars. Why didn't you get the advertising dollars from Donald Trump? Why didn't you get advertising dollars from third parties? Why didn't you have them on? Right? Because the thing is, like, ultimately, you're talking about wanting to grow, you know, because when you're a platform, you know, a network, the only color you recognize is green. So why didn't you have Donald Trump on to talk to him? I mean, you could have even been adversarial, but you could have talked to him, but you didn't. And now you're talking about, well, this is advertising dollars. No, bro. You honestly was just a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party. And the thing is, like, you could have even disclosed that, but you didn't bother to disclose that. We literally had to go to FEC filings just to look it up. And boom, there it is, $350,000. You know? And really, this is why I talk about the consulting class being a money grab. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, from what I see, is that elections are just big business. That's all they are. It's just a means for consultants to make more money. And they know that we're going to oscillate or vacillate between Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, because it's all one party. And it's just a means to make more dough. This is election season. It's all the season, just like it's Christmas season when you're shopping. Because when I used to work in retail, whenever Christmas season came up, we had to prepare for it. Same thing with election season. And guaranteed, in 2 years, 2.25 years, these consultants are going to prime up again for 2028 in order to make more money. That's all it's about. This is why all these Act Blues and, you know, pushing for, you know, with the Republican equivalent of it, that's what these consultants are there for. They're bottom feeders, right? And so, you know, I rambled on a little bit. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, but you're not wrong. You know, and like you said, in their case, it is more about dollarism than it is about the actual mission. It's never going to be something that's a method of liberatory means. You're not going to liberate the people. Like Roland Martin is who he is, and the people that are backing him and the people that are in his immediate circle that are not telling him that this ain't it, that this ain't right. Y'all are equally guilty, irrespective of whether you said one word or whether you said a bunch of words.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's continue on. I want to make sure I get as much of this in as possible.
Gambit Strategies got $122 million. A company called Bully Pulpit Interactive got about $101 million. And you know, to come back to you for a moment, Tom, what didn't get a lot of money were voter turnout groups on the ground, groups like Black Voters Matter and Voto Latino, who just specialize in turning out more liberal or Democratic-leaning voters. Was part of the problem that there was an air campaign, a traditional air campaign taking place on the Democratic side, a non-traditional air campaign and social media campaign on the Republican side, and just not enough ground game?
Well, if I can add to that, there was also a calculation, and a lot of this was on the outside sort of independent expenditure groups. We know almost $1 billion was spent just by one of those organizations on the Democratic side. There was a calculation that the messaging should come in late in the campaign, and that, again, it should be mostly on the air. And in the end, when we look at when people made up their minds from the exit polls, you see Vice President Harris was winning in September, winning in October, and it was really the people who made up their minds in the last couple of weeks. But your point about organizing, yes, we talk about turnout. And again, as I say, in the battleground states, Democratic turnout appeared to be pretty good, but we were losing just a critical mass of these voters. It's a lesson that we can't just be investing in registration and then say, let's hope they show out. We need to be communicating throughout the cycle, not just in the last few weeks.
You know what? That sounds great, but to me, it's like, no, you don't need to communicate better. You need to do actual on the ground, tangible policies better so that you actually, people will remember and go, oh yeah, this person did this good thing for me. Like your spin is not going to make things better. And I hate to sound gruesome, but do not shape a pile of shit into chocolate ice cream and put some sprinkles on it and tell me it's chocolate ice cream. That's exactly what they do. They do that every single time. And then they say, oh, look, it's ice cream. And we know, and we smell it. And we're like, nah, get this stuff away from me. And you try to convince us of what you're trying to say it is, but it's not.
I think Samuel Jackson got one of the best quotes I've heard in the movie, and that's in Juice when he says, just because you pour syrup on shit don't make it pancakes. I'm going to be all the way honest with you in regard to that. You're absolutely correct in stating that. Here's the reality of it. Mm-hmm. She threw these fundraisers, overpaid these damn celebrities, went into debt doing so, and didn't even have the decency after she lost to come out and console the people that were going through hell and high water to be able to get her elected.
This is why I say this, you know, we have a disease of consulting class, you know, and this is why I think, you know, and we talk about this all the time. I see Roger Meadows in the chat. We talk about how money has to be out of politics. But the thing is that within the capitalist system, it's inevitable that money will be in politics because it is a money-making, profit-making system. So, of course, money's going to be in politics. You're not going to get money out of politics until the capitalist system ends. I'm sorry, but a lot of people are going to be like, well, we just got to get money out of politics. No. You got to change the system first in order for that to happen. Because the profit making will continue as long as this system continues.
Yeah, and that's a fact. You know, and like I said, I look at it this way too. Somebody with a degree in political science, and a dual degree actually, because she has a degree in political science and a degree in economics. How are you that piss poor with money when you've had the option to have institutional training in it? And then if your mom, like she states, immigrated to this country and had to manage a certain budget, even if, you know, living in middle class, how do you go $20 million in the debt off your campaign?
I mean, giving money to all these artists ain't helping either. I mean, did Beyonce help Kamala? How much, you know, did Megan Thee Stallion help Kamala? How much did Eminem help Kamala?
You can get Beyonce, Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B. You can get all of these celebrities, and they can go to. Because here's the reality of it. They're going to take the money because it's what they've been doing, but you listen to them for entertainment, and then you turn that shit off because you're not living the lifestyle. You don't have, or you're not in the tax bracket. They're not even thinking about you and wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire, to be quite honest. But people are like, oh, all right, well, one of the things that I was hearing was even Waltz, right? Because he's coming out of Minnesota, signed a law, and I think we spoke about this the last time too, making a Prince Day, a national a Prince Day for the state of Minnesota in purple ink. And I saw a tweet saying that he gets it. This is what he's done, but everything he's done has been tied to celebrity. So this is how low they think of you. They can just take whatever celebrity you favor, put them in front of you, and you're going to go with what this person says, even if it contradicts the things that are in your best interest. I have to, to me, it don't make sense, but and here's the reality. I listen to Prince. I listen to all of the music that other people listen to as well. It's not just, revolutionary Pan-African shit. It's not just my faces in a book. I do the same shit everybody else does. Mm-hmm. But at some point, you have to find that balance where it's like, all right, cool. I've already turned this song off. I'm living in this messed up condition. My condition is not changing. Part of the reason why the condition is not changing, high crime, high poverty, all politics that are shaping the neighborhood in which I live in, and nobody's asking any questions. We keep looking at this. There's a bunch of people walking around that don't know what capitalism means. There's a bunch of people walking around that don't know what communism, socialism means. Yeah. But you get to put these words up as a politician, and at no point did anybody say, yo, let me go look this up.
I think some of them do. They just don't want that system because this system works for them. And they're in their mind, they're like, well, people can just do what I did. When in reality, that's not realistic. I
kind of look at it from a Dr. King perspective, a more radical Dr. King perspective, when he was like, just to summarize, it's unfair to tell somebody to pull themselves up by the bootstraps when they don't have boots.
That's true.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like to say, all right, well, I did this. Through which means did you do it? That's one question I would ask. And how much of yourself did you give up? Like, are you even you anymore? That's because, true. And here's the thing. Everybody, every single last one of us that's living in this space grew up thinking the end all be all was, all right, you get a bunch of money, you good. But what does it mean for you to be living lavishly and your people live in squalor?
That's also a really good point. Yep. Because my conscience will be hurting me every single night if I was living lavishly and then all my neighbors and all my people were harmed, So
not only that, but you definitely in harm's way because they know where you at.
That's also true too. There was because there's some overlap of agreement, but there was some disagreement because me and Savvy had was it 2 weeks ago? We had on Dr. Boyce Watkins on, and he was talking about essentially pushing more Black people to be more financially literate. And my pushback is if I'm making $1,500. And my rent is $1,700. I don't care how financially literate I am. I can't make $1,500 into $1,700 living paycheck to paycheck.
Not without utilizing extra legal means, or having to have like a side hustle. Which, of course, a side hustle is still you being exploited for your labor, and then you too tired to do any damn thing.
That is also true. And so ultimately, people are now trying to push Black people and they're going, well, you guys just need to invest in this and invest in that and stop. And then they'll make they'll cry about, well, you guys just need to stop spending your money on and insert this frivolous thing. And it's like, you know what? People deserve also to be able to enjoy their lives and have leisure. I think we've also got into a culture where we think that leisure is something that's not as important, when in reality is that it is all in part and parcel of the human experience, the human existence, to be able to rest and actually be able to replenish yourself both mentally, emotionally, and physically. But we seem to downplay that because we have capitalist brain thinking that we have to be robots every single time. It's the same thing when they teach us men that we have to be devoid of our emotions, except for anger and rage, just so that we can get the job done. But then next thing you know, when we're, treating our loved ones like crap, or we're, being, holding all these emotions in, and we finally blow up at somebody, then it's like, oh my God, I can't believe men are like this. And it's like, yeah, because we've been taught to be this way so that we, continue to perpetuate this system the way it is, and it's just, I'm at the point where it is up to us, men like us, especially, to teach our boys about what this system is and how horrible it is and what we can do in order to change it, because really the power is in our hands. No politician is really going to save us, but, and that's one of the things I try to impart to my nephews, especially, because ultimately what we have to do is we have to change it for the future. If not for their future, then for their kids,
Yeah, no, that's valid, into that kind of point or whatever. Even with like the financial literacy thing, that's become more of a hustle. I have to call it what it is, because like you said, you can't just magically turn 1,500 into 1,700 without having to go and get a side gig, without maybe having to do extra legal, stuff in order to be able to survive out there. And then as far as like the demonstration of emotions and looking for leisure, so that way you got that small piece, that small pocket of joy. Everybody, if not for nothing else, should have that. But I believe that the capitalist system robs people of it, because you're taught that if you don't have this material thing, you mean nothing. I remember being a kid collecting like the East Bay magazines. I'm like, damn, I want these sneakers. I want this. Now I'm in the dark buying all of the things it is that I want, but the novelty is one up, because I'm like, wait a minute, this person ain't got groceries. This person ain't got this. I still buy every now and again for myself, but I'm also looking at it like there's more to life than just the material things. Of course, people want things, but like Kwame Ture says, and I hope everybody will go out and listen to this. It's called What's in the Name. People want things, but you have to show them that there are things that are more important in life than material items.
Yeah,
I'm into material, but I'm more into material dialectics, if I'm going to be completely honest, as far as that particular aspect of it is concerned. Like, we have to, man, woman, child, whomever that is part of our, our culture, our sphere, our diaspora, make it to where not only is there cooperative economics, but there's political education to go behind it. That way it makes more sense. Giving people money ain't it, because you can give somebody money, and if they don't know what to do with it, or if they don't see the importance of it, they can go right back to being broke. Look at these, we could talk about the celebrities, but we also have to mention the celebrities that had it and lost it all. Everybody loved Marvin Gaye. I grew up on the music. Read Divided Soul, if anybody gets a chance, just to see how poor Marvin Gaye was with money, to the point where he had to stay out the country for a few years because of tax evasion. So it's a matter of, we have to look more into our humanity than we look at whatever was laid out by our oppressors as what's important versus what's not. Because this thing that capitalism does is it flips everything over. Yeah. It makes the meaningless meaningful. It makes the meaningful meaningless.
Ooh, hard.
So it's a lot to kind of just look at that way. And these people that are out for personal gain, that's not, voting liberalism in is not harm reduction, which is one of the BS narratives that they were running. If that liberalism is still going to come at the expense of human life, if you're not talking about fixing the conditions, then you're no better. You're running game on the people, and you know better if you're somebody that's part of the Black community, if you're somebody that's part of the LGBTQIA plus community, if you're somebody that's Mexican, Cuban, or whatever, any person that has been niggerized or that has been othered within the confines of the capitalist system and the white hegemony that has been experienced since the day before forever in the U.S. has to be honest about how we get away from this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, man, I want this conversation to continue, but I promised you 45 minutes and I went over that. Man, look, let me tell you something. I took a sniff and I was like, oh man, this dude is cooking in the kitchen right now. So I was just enjoying it, man. But hey, so I would love to have you back on, especially to talk about more of the social aspects and how it combines with capitalism and what we can do in order to, because one of the books I've been reading, some people don't like this book that I'm reading, but it is what it is. I don't care. People can feel how they want. But one of the books I've been reading was was by Bell Hooks. The Will to Change. And one of the things that she interjects with is how capitalism feeds into patriarchy, and then how, we end up damaging ourselves because we try to feed into the system. And so, I've been trying to change myself on the inside as well. I told you I was, going to the gym, so I'm trying to change myself on the outside, but I'm trying to also change myself on the inside as well, to be a better servant of the people, so that whenever I do mutual aid, whenever I do organizing, I'm better suited for the work that I'm trying to do, as a person. And so I would love to have you on, to help, teach and guide people like myself, the audience. And so I really just want you to come back, and please don't be a stranger.
I'll be back as long as y'all have me.
Thank you. So what do you have coming up as well? Any special projects, and also where can they find you?
At the moment, nothing, because I've got stuff kind of going on with the family in the moment. At the moment, and I've got comrades that are kind of moving around, so it's a little bit of a restructuring. So everything is kind of on hold, but I'll be around. Okay. So I can always be found. You know where to find me. I'm always on socials. So that's the easiest way. If I have anything coming up, I'll be sure to put it out there. We just finished teaching a political education course at the local bookstore, local Black-owned bookstore. Shout out to Grassroots Bookstore for having us in downtown Phoenix. And it was just in regard to an introduction to the All-African People's Revolutionary Party, why it is important to have collectives, why it's important to have community. How do we break away from the system that's held us down to the point where we don't know which way up is? So that was, more along those lines. And anybody that is just, of course, anybody that's part of the African diaspora, but anybody that is not part of this white hegemonic space also understands that particular piece of it as well.
Definitely. And here is your Twitter page. So I also put the link inside the description in the chat as well, so you guys can go there. Thank you so very much for joining me, and I hope to see you again very soon. We'll have this conversation again.
Likewise, brother. You take care.
All right, man. Take care. Thank you so very much for watching my channel, and I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further, so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Mwah. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.